Stacie's Corner. I'm Stacie, and continuing the City of Bones story. Clary just got the mortal cup out of the card, and the card went away into ash. And Jace said, "I thought that would be bigger," and she said, "It's just fine, and it's just an ordinary like wine goblet with rhinestones and all gold all over." And he thought, "Well, I thought it would be bigger than that, like big like a house cat." And she said, "Why would you think that?" And Isabel said, "Well, since you got it now, let's go." And Madame Dorothea says, "Wait a minute, it's damaged." And Clary's like, "What? It's damaged?" She said, "Yeah, let me show you." And she tries to reach over to touch the mortal cup, and she backs away, not understanding why she backed away. And then Jace comes in between them, and he says, "Nobody's going to touch the mortal cup except us, and we're going to be leaving now." And Madame Dorothy says, "Do you want to use the portal?" And she kind of reaches over towards the curtain, and he says, "Stay away from that." And she pulls the curtain away. And when she does, this black thing rushes in and attacks Madame Dorothea and knocks her over. And she starts convulsing and stuff like that, and they're seeing this thing kind of absorb her and taking over her body. And as they're doing that, they're stepping away towards the door, and Jay says, "Let's go out, let's go now." So they go out the door and shut the door behind them, and they're in the foyer, and it's all dark, and all of a sudden there's a big like bang, and the creature comes through the door, and he's saying, "What are you?" And it says, "I'm the greater demon of the fallen." And he says, "Well, you're not going to be nothing anymore." And he takes one of his swords and slashes at it. And the greater demon tries to slash at Jace with his talons, and he dodges out of the way. And then the demon sees Clary with a goblet and tries to go over to her, and so Jace gets up again and tries to go after her with another sword, and it swings and knocks Jace against the wall, and he's like, looks like he's out cold. And so he comes again towards Clary again, and Jace gets up and does some, and also Alex comes over and tries to get in the way because it's between Jace and Clary. So the creature picks up Alec and tosses him, and he slams him against the ground, and he's out cold. And Jace brings another sword in, and Isabel's taking her whip and slashing at the back of it as Jace is trying to stab it a few times in its back as the demon's trying to get him off of him. And then all of a sudden a bright light from the doorway opens up, and it's Simon, and he has Alex's bow and arrow, and he shoots at the skylight, which causes the glass to break, and the sunbeams come down and onto the beast, and the demon like melts away, it disappears. And they when it disappears, they get their heads clear, and they go over to Alex to see what's going on. And Jason said, "Where's my steel?" And Claire said, "Here, I have it." So she hands him the steel, and he undoes his shirt with the steel like he's using a knife, and it opened up, and he has these veins and slash marks all over his chest, and he's trying to use the steel to heal him, but it's not helping. It's not even touching him. And he says, because the demon slashed him with his talons, and the talons had demon poison, and nothing's going to touch him. So we need to get him back to Hodge. And he said, let's go. So he carries Alec in his hands into the van, and he says, step on it. So they are rushing to the Institute, and at the Institute, Hodge is in the doorway. And they rush in and take him to the infirmary, and in there, Hodge is standing over him, and Isabel's beside him, and he's doing whatever with his herbs and stuff, trying to help him. And after that was done, and he steps, Jace is out in the hallway, and he's blaming himself. And the reason why he's blaming himself, he's telling us to Clary that, I blame myself, it's my fault. And she said, no, it's not your fault. He said, yes, it is, because the only thing I was thinking about when the demon was there was only you. I was not thinking about anybody else. You were the only one that was on my mind. And he's holding her. And here comes Hodge, and he kind of does a little cough, and they pull away. And Jace said, how is he? And he said, I could do only what I can right now. I'm going to have to get a hold of the Silent Brothers and have them come and see what they can do for him. And so they head, and do you think they're going to be here right away? And Hodge says they come when they feel like it. And so the three of them walk to the library, and while they're there, Hodge picks out a piece of paper and a pen, and he says, you guys only found the immortal cup. And Clary says, we did. I have it right here. And Hodge says, you do? You have the immortal cup? And she said, yeah. And she pulls it out of her pocket, and Hodge comes over around to Jace and gives him a hug. And then he yells for Hugo, and he says his name in a different kind of way, like Hugin. And Hugin, when he does that, the bird comes and starts attacking Clary's face with his claws and his beak, and she's trying to get him away and everything. And when Hodge said, and when that happens, he snatches the cup out of Clary's hands, and he says, that's enough, Hugo. And Hugo goes over back to his perch. And when Clary gets herself back to normal, she sees Jace on the ground, passed out. And she said she's about to reach for him, and she can't. And she's like in this barrier. There's like this barrier around her. She like a hidden wall all around her. And she said, what did you do to him? And he said, he's just asleep. And she said, how could you do this? And he said, because Valentine is my boss, or type of thing, or I am his right-hand man, or something like that. And so he takes, he reaches down to Jace and takes off his ring, and he puts it on his finger, and he twirls it 3 times around his finger. And after he does that, there's like this shimmering light or something in air around near Hodge, and out comes this tall, dark-haired guy. And the guy says, Starkweather, you got the cup. I knew you would do it. And he says, let me have the cup. And he says, no, first you need to do what you said you would do. You're going to remove this curse. And he said, you're going to give it to me anyway. And he said, too bad that the Lightwoods they should have been having the same curse as you have. Instead of they're able to go wherever you feel like hatred towards them, since you got the worst of it, and they're able to do whatever they want, and leave, go back to Idris, and step out in the sun. But instead you're just staying here and taking care of their kids and being their lapdog type of thing. And that's just seems wrong. And so he says, you're going to give me that cup. And so he gives him the cup, and he looks, he sees Jace on the ground, and he says, why is there blood on him? And I said, nobody's supposed to get hurt. He's not supposed to get hurt. And Hodge said it's not his blood. He's just rusting. And so he kind of has a smirk on his face, and he picks up Jace. And Hodge said, you said you were not going to hurt him. And he says, I'm not going to hurt him, but he's going to be with his father. That's where he needs to be. And Valentine opens up the portal again, and he's about to walk through, and Hodge said, you promised me that you would take this curse off me. And so Valentine does this thing with his hand, and there's like this black fluid thing that comes off Hodge's neck, and he's touching his neck. And he said, the thing is done. You're free to do whatever and roam and get out of the Institute, as I said I would. And then, in a blink of an eye, Jace and Valentine are gone. And Clary is still locked up in this, whatever it is. And she said, how could you do this? And that was all I was able to read today. I hope you like it. Hit like, hit subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Love you. Bye.